In section 8.3, we're talking about circle graphs. So it says a circle graph shows how the parts of something relate to the whole. A circle graph is divided into sectors, where each sector represents a particular category. The entire circle is one whole or 100%, and the sector of the circle is a part. So let's look at an example of what one of these looks like. So it says, at a private school, 300 students and faculty voted on adopting uniforms for students. The results are shown in the table below. So when they asked if people wanted uniforms, 30 said yes, 180 said no, and 90 said they weren't sure. So it says, in order to draw a circle graph, we need to represent the number for each response as a fraction or a percent. So if you look, the people who responded yes were 30, and that was 30 out of the 300 that were surveyed. And as you can look, we have a fraction that's going to reduce down to a fraction of 1/10, which is the same thing as 10%. So that all started because of 30 over 300. 180 people said no, so we need to do 180 out of 300. So that fraction reduces to 3/5, which is the same thing as 60%. And then 90 people said they're not sure. So 90 out of 300 said they weren't sure. That's the same as 3 out of 10, or the same as 30%. So if you look at the next page, we have two circle graphs for the same thing. If you look at the one on the left, it shows fractions. The one on the right shows percents. And as you can see, it's a lot easier to read a circle graph if you have it in percent form. So you can do it either way. It's just going to be easier to follow if you have percents. On the next page, we're going to look at how to interpret a circle graph. So it says a poll is taken to find the music preferences of students at Adams School. Each student voted only once. The result of this poll are displayed in the circle graph below. So if you look at the music preferences, we have 35% rap, 28% rock and roll, 15% alternative, 12% country, and 10% classical. So the first question is, what is the circle graph about? Well, if we look at the title, we know that it's about the music preferences of students at Adams School. The next question says, how many sectors are in the graph? So if you count the sectors, we have one for rap, one for rock and roll, one for alternative, one for country, and one for classical. So we have 5 different sectors. Next question says, which type of music do students most prefer? Rap has the highest percentage, so we know that's the one they prefer. Also, its sector is the biggest one as well if you look at the pieces of the pie. It says, what type of music do students prefer the least? So it would be classical, no surprise there. No offense to anyone who likes classical music. And then it says, what percentage of students prefer alternative? Again, this is really easy to read because we have it in percent, so it's 15%. Then it says, what percent prefer rock and roll? And we can just read 28%. And now it says, list the categories in the graph from greatest to least. So if you follow our circle graph this way, you can see from greatest to least: rap, rock and roll, alternative, country, and classic. So circle graph, pretty easy to read there. All right, so the next part talks about constructing a circle graph. I'm going to let you guys just read through these notes step by step. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your teacher. But there's some things in there you probably haven't seen before, so it might be easier just to ask your teacher to explain those to you. All right? So follow along those steps. Ask your teacher if you have any questions. All right, and then for your homework, you will work on making your own circle graph, and you'll just follow the steps in the notes. Again, just ask your teacher if you have any questions on that.